Guys, when I first started doing art, I went straight to the oil paintings, to the brushes, to the canvases. It was a huge mistake. In this video I'm going to talk to you about 3 lessons that I learned from this mistake and how you can avoid doing them. So let's get into it. So maybe it's just me, but sometimes it feels like when we enter a new area in life, we expect to do perfect right away. We compare us with people who have invested thousands of hours into this subject, and we expect to perform like them right away. So when I first started painting, I went to the art store, I bought a canvas, and I think I'd recently watched the movie The Hobbit because I wanted to paint a scene from it. I had a beautiful vision in my mind, and when I looked at my painting, it was disaster. I kept trying and trying on new oil paintings, and finally I just felt like oil painting is not for me. So the problem here is that I was expecting a result I had seen professionals do without having put down the same amount of effort. So this foundation is best laid with the help of a pencil and some cheap paper. Let me explain to you why. Okay, so lesson number 1. Painting is complex and oil paints are expensive. So painting might look easy until you try it yourself. It is a very complex endeavor just because it is too many elements to juggle at the same time for a beginner. It is not just those problems that we have when we deal with drawing, but we also have the complexity of the paints, color theory, how to handle the materials, the brushes, the turpentine if you're painting in oil, etc, etc. It's just a whole other dimension of issues that you have to keep in mind. To trial and error in oil paints, I mean, it is possible, but it is just way too expensive and time consuming. The fundamentals in drawing are exactly the same as they are in painting. I mean, the same rules of perspective applies to both drawing and painting, and the same dark value when you draw is the same as a dark value when you paint. My point being is that the knowledge you gain when you draw is applicable to your paintings. So all you're gonna need is some coal or graphite pencils, like these. You're also gonna need some cheap copy paper. Here we have them, 500 cheap copy papers, ready to be filled with mistakes. I can tell you that I would not buy 500 cheap canvases to fill with mistakes. When you're working with cheap materials like this, you will not be so afraid of doing mistakes, because whatever, it's just one paper of 500, and they are cheap. Okay, let's move on to lesson number 2. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. So the same way it would be a waste of time and energy for someone to build a car from the ground up without any guidance. It would be a huge waste of time and energy for you to trial and error too much in oil painting. It would be much wiser to learn from history and to discover that people have actually already made those mistakes and learned that drawing is the best way to start. The world famous Vincent van Gogh said that drawing is the root of everything, and he spent 2 whole years just drawing before he started painting. So my point is that the best way for you to learn is to, number 1, use the knowledge out there in books and videos. For example, my fundamental series here on Alibri, check that out if you wish. And number 2, use the cheap learning materials like pencil and papers to apply that knowledge that you gain from the books. Because without cheap learning materials, pencils and papers, you'll be afraid of doing the mistakes. You will not do the mistakes enough because you will try to stick to one painting and perfect it when you just should leave it and start a new one and practice over and over. Lesson number 3, patience and embracing complexity. Okay guys, I'm gonna be honest, I think the reason I started with oil paints is because I was not patient enough. I wanted to create a beautiful art piece right away, hang it on my wall and be really proud of it. However, I jumped into an area that was too complex for me. Thus, I lost my motivation. I don't want the same thing to happen to you, so that's why I'm advising you to start with a pencil and a paper. So what if I just don't have the patience to start with drawing? I just want to create a beautiful art piece right away, you might ask. Well, I've asked this question a lot of times in the past, and I feel like I now know better than I did before. Because this is quite shocking to some people, but I don't want a shortcut anymore. I just don't. And this is something that's difficult for a lot of people to understand in our microwave culture. I think that art is something beautiful, complex, and something full of small facets that we can just keep exploring all our life. You're never finished with art. You're never a perfected artist. You can always learn something else. And to some people that's frightening because you just want to finish. But to me and to a lot of other artists, that's beautiful. Once you have spent thousands of hours on drawing and on painting, you can be absolutely sure that there are no shortcuts. And you will thus be very proud and probably pleased with your effort because you are learning to master a craft which a lot of people don't have the patience or self-discipline to master. So the third lesson is about understanding that patience is necessary. Embrace that art is complex and that is something good. And pick up some pencils and paper and start laying that foundation brick by brick. Just to summarize today's lesson before I leave you, I want to emphasize that today's 3 lessons are based on personal experiences, and I'm telling you this so you can avoid doing the same mistakes, which is why we today talked about. Number 1, painting is way too complex and expensive to start with. It is much better to learn the fundamentals and the basics with some cheap copy paper. Number 2, don't do all the mistakes yourself by trial and error. It is much better and wiser to learn from history and other artists' mistakes. Number 3, understand that patience is necessary and embrace the fact that art is complex as something beautiful and motivating. Okay guys, I hope you have enjoyed today's video here at the library with me and Fred. We will see you next time. Bye bye.